The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth, alongside Phil Duvall. Say hi, Phil.
Hi, Andy and Second Breakfast people of the nation. Hi.
Man, you're really not good at the
So bad at the thing. Where's the camera?
Tuesdays here on Second Breakfast, we still kind of don't know what to do with, so this is our sort of freeform day, and
It's when you know what's funny is I know that's true, but when you say it out loud, I'm like, Andy,
don't tell them.
Don't air the dirty laundry. Like Tuesdays are, we're figuring it out. You're right, we're figuring it out.
It's a learning process.
I was thinking it might be horror school, but then I realized that would mean I'd have to watch a horror movie every week, and I'm not ready for that.
You're not ready for that.
So when you think about how little time we have, and then it's like one Mel Gibson movie a week and one horror movie a week,
Agreed. Totally agreed.
Not enough.
Agreed. Agreed. And just so you know, the horror school I would put you through, you're not ready for once a week. You're just not. So there's that.
I don't like you as a person.
I care very little about that. So,
let's do the show.
Yes, let's.
What are we talking about today?
I have already forgotten. So, that's not true. What we're going to talk about today, something we try to do on this podcast is steer clear of spoilers. Because, yes, it's just a movie. Yes, it's just entertainment. But it is something that is purely for someone's pleasure, and spoilers being defined here as something that not only spoil something about the movie, but it's something that the person hearing it doesn't want to hear. All you're doing is removing enjoyment from that person. So,
yeah. Hence the term spoiler.
Yeah, I've noticed
because it spoils something.
The reason I had that much preface on it, other than the fact that I like to preface things overly so, but I've noticed this sort of like backlash, like, well, just don't read it and blah, blah, blah. And I get that. Like, I'm not going to go onto websites where I might see a spoiler. But if I fire up, if I turn on my computer and there's
if I go on Facebook and like the moment after an episode of Downton Abbey has aired,
yes.
and I'm sorry, I just finished the first season.
Yes.
America, and by America, I mean pretentious America, because normal Americans are not watching Downton Abbey. It's all you Prius driving iTunes types that are watching it. And like, I get it. I'm behind, but there's this thing like, well, if you don't know, I've given you this much time, and it's like, you know what? I've said this before, but I'll say it again. It like that's like saying like, oh, have you read this book? Oh, you haven't? Well, he dies in the end, and you're like, but I haven't read it. And you're like, well, the book's been out for 50 years. You should have read it by now. What?
It's true.
It's a new era of film watching and television watching, and people watch it in their time frame, and you gotta like have a brain to be aware of that.
Yes. Yes.
It's insanity. But we're not actually. What's interesting about this, and you started by defending us in the sense of saying
we're not actually going to talk about spoilers, but it's sort of related. And
I want to just say this. You said it's just a movie. Well, sure, but that's our podcast. We talk about movies, so it's like
absolutely.
Here we are. I guess all I mean is anyone who's watching this is not going to say it's only a movie, because why would you listen to our nonsense?
I gotta be honest. I've seen some people that you would not think would say this on Facebook. Say, shut up. It's only a movie.
Then why are you spending energy putting stupid status updates about it? Like, if it's only a movie.
Hey, preaching to the choir here. Right? Clearly.
I
but what we're going to talk about today, related to, but not.
It's related. It's related.
Completely about spoilers. Or directly on point. Just sort of those things that inform you about a movie beforehand. Articles you might read on it, trailers.
Here's the question. Here's the question. Ready?
Yeah.
Andy, how much do you want to know about a movie going in? That's really, to me, the question at hand here. And you and I know more about stuff that's being put out there than a lot of people, than normal people. A lot less than normal movie geeks. We're very amateurish in that sense. But when it comes to regular, average everyday people, we know more than them about what's happening.
Right. Right. You can just generalize that statement. Compared to normal people, we're a lot more blank than people who blank.
No, but it's like so. For instance, if you were to say, "Do you know some of the people who are being cast in Guardians of the Galaxy, the large movie in Phase 2 of Marvel, or Phase 3?" And then a normal person would go, "Guardians of the Galaxy, Phase what? Are we still talking about movies?"
Right. And we're like very excited for Chris Pratt to get a starring role, and I really hope they get Jim Carrey for Rocket Raccoon.
I don't, and that, like, seriously, there's a ton of people just now who are like, "Is this how this whole podcast is gonna go?"
Right? No, folks.
Oh, no, it isn't. But I mean, yeah. So Andy, so talk to me. What do you want to know? What do you want to know before you go see a movie?
I mean, it depends. It depends on what kind of movie it is, right? I mean, at this point, they could have just told me that Iron Man 3 was coming out, and that's all I would have to know.
Yes.
You know, like, I am happy every time they see a new trailer, but I don't have to see any trailers at all, right?
Yep.
Trailers are where we might focus, I think, much of our attention today, and that is because, I mean, what's the standard complaint about trailers? Like, it shows the whole movie, blah blah blah, you know, and that, as someone who rewatches movies, even when I don't like them that much necessarily, I just find myself watching them again.
Might be my least favorite thing about you.
It's fair. I don't do it often in the theater.
I know. No. I don't do it often in the theater.
Oh, yeah,
Two
no.
qualifiers.
Hey. I clearly cannot defend myself from that charge completely. Anyway.
Right, you're right. I know.
I don't know that simply knowing late plot points of the movie, I don't know that that's enough for me to be like, I've been spoiled, right? Especially since, you know, you don't know if you've seen the whole movie in the trailer. You can hope, you know, and based on sort of the talent involved. I mean, if Adam Sandler comes out with a new movie and there are 2 funny jokes in the trailer, I am reasonably sure that there are no more than 3 funny jokes in the entire movie, right? Yeah. You know, and I've just seen 67% of them, so I'm good, right?
Yeah.
But what I want to know, what I would love to know, who's the director, so I can find out what they've done before.
Yep.
Who has been cast, because I know a lot of actors, and I am excited for people to sort of continue along their trajectory or break out of the mold they've been typecast into.
Yep.
And at its base, that's all I need to know. I want to know those things about every movie.
Yep.
Because honestly, plot's less important to me. I mean, there are plots where I'm like, I'm definitely seeing that movie. And there are plots where I'm like, I'm definitely not seeing that movie. But by and large, those are few and far between.
It would have to be, I mean, honestly, because some of the plots of movies that I loved, if you told me the plot out loud, it would be like, well, that's not. I mean, honestly, you and I were talking earlier about, what is it called? Robots versus Monsters? Is that the name? No, Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim, which is a movie by Guillermo I'm going to just say this name wrong.
I can't do it either.
I think my inability to say his name borders on racism. It's just not right.
Del Toro.
William of the Bull. Guillermo del Toro. He made a movie coming out called Pacific Rim, and it could have just been called Monsters versus Robots. And he is a guy who made Pan's Labyrinth, which is amazing. Yeah. And he is a guy who's made the 2 Hellboy movies and some other stuff. I'm going to see this movie because of what I know about him.
Yeah.
If you told me there was a movie coming out called Pacific Rim that was about monsters, about people who create gigantic robots that they can then use to fight monsters that land on the Earth like alien monsters, there's no given that I would be remotely interested in that.
which
It's
is
true.
weird because I
And
remember.
to be honest,
I remember how excited you were for Battleship. I'm sorry. Go on.
shut your face. Andy, if you don't have anything, in the words of my mom, if you don't have anything nice to say, then shut up!
You know what? I saw Battleship in the theater, man.
I never ended up seeing it, so that shows you what, I mean, I talk a big game about what I want to see. What I actually see is a different story, my friend.
Indeed.
Like, go back and listen to our first quarter podcast, the first quarter of the year of movies that I can't wait to see. I saw like 2 of the 15 I named. No, but I know what you mean, and I think you know, look, I wanted to see Battleship because it was Peter Berg, creator of Friday Night Lights, although he has also created a lot of sketchy stuff.
That's true.
But creator of Friday Night Lights, director of The Rundown, which I really liked.
Yep.
And I love Taylor Kitsch, and I want to support Taylor Kitsch. That's got Liam Neeson, and I thought, all right, let's do this thing. And then obviously the reviews came out. But Guillermo del Toro has my interest, and it's something he's so passionate about that he, if I remember correctly, pulled out of doing The Hobbit so that he could make this movie that he wanted to make.
Yes.
So knowing little things like that doesn't tell me anything about the movie.
Right.
But it tells me so much about the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, let's do this thing. Let's give it a shot, right? I mean, let's give it a shot. You and I were talking earlier with her director about, like, is this a good idea? Like, you watched the recent trailer and you were like, is this movie? I'm done with the trailers. I don't want to know a thing. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I can't. Let me see how he shows giant robots beating monsters.
Yes. I am moving more towards that, more towards the extreme of that viewpoint. More and more frequently. That wasn't true. Like, I didn't mind learning things about the end of, say, The Incredible Hulk, the one with Edward Norton, right?
Yep.
Or like any one of the post-credits scenes in any of the Phase 1 of Marvel's cinematic universe.
Sure, but that's
right?
because it's set up on purpose to get you going like,
Right. But I would find out. I mean, most of the things that they would do would be leaked, a day or two or a week or more before the movie came out, and so I'd know usually what I was about to see. But not only for Pacific Rim, you're right. I'm done. I'm done with the trailers. I'm going to see it. If I can, it'll be opening day. That's it. I don't want to know. I am done. I will watch the trailers I've already seen, but if they release more trailers for Man of Steel, Star Trek,
done.
No. Pacific Rim, no. And more than that, there are 2 movies coming out, and this might surprise you at first, but I don't think it will end up being that surprising to you. There are 2 movies that I am, like, avoiding all mention of, and I'm going to try and miss every single trailer of. And that is This Is the End.
Okay.
The celebrities playing themselves versus the apocalypse.
Okay.
And, interestingly, another probably apocalyptic movie, The World's End.
Oh, no, it definitely is apocalyptic movie.
Right, but we don't know how yet.
Right.
So, The World's End, which is, for those who don't know, is the third in the thematic trilogy, directed by Edgar Wright, starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, after Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. The third of the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, or the Blood and Ice Cream trilogy, as they have variously
You just sounded so nerdy just then.
Whoa! A moment where I was talking about Shaun of the Dead ended up with me sounding nerdy?
No, it's just but I mean, just more so. I get it.
That's
no,
fair.
but I mean, yeah, I hear you. So you're not going to see anything about these because you're going to see them anyway, and you don't want to be any moment spoiled.
Like, I've seen a picture of everybody in The World's End looking at something.
I
It's
saw the preview. I saw a preview, and I was like,
of The World's End, or of This Is the End?
Of This Is the End.
Right.
So
right. I've seen a picture, the one picture that has been leaked from The World's End. It was leaked by Edgar Wright, like by the studio. They don't want to spoil anything, at least not this early. It's coming out in August. Between August and October. I don't remember when.
August.
August. It was originally scheduled for October, I think, but it got moved up. Yay! But it was literally like everybody just like looking at something.
Yep.
And that's all I need to know. I'm done. I'm good.
I didn't even need to know that.
Right. No, I didn't need to.
But I hear you.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's literally like five dudes standing.
Happy to see it.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in talking about, you know, Andy, the fact that like there are movies that you go into literally knowing nothing.
Yep.
I went into or close to it. I went in to see Slumdog Millionaire, knowing that Danny Boyle directed it.
Yep.
It was set in India, and that everybody, all the critics, were loving it. That is completely and utterly the extent to which I knew anything about that movie.
Sure.
And it
that
was
might have
so
been me too,
much fun to find out.
Yes.
I went and saw Bernie last year, knowing that it had Jack Black, Shirley MacLaine, and Matthew McConaughey in it. Why did I know that? Because it was on the poster.
Right. Yes.
And that it was playing at the movie theater I was going to at the time I had free. Literally all I knew. And no, that's not true. I looked at it on Flickster, which is an app I have on my phone, and that gives the tomato rating along with it. So I knew that it had a good tomato rating. I knew that it had a good aggregate, which is also, I mean, I'm going to admit that's a part of my that calculus. Is often a part of my calculating.
Sure.
You know, unless it's someone like Tarantino where I'm like, it doesn't matter, I'm going to just see it.
Right.
Last week I watched, and now this goes back to older movies. Trailers don't enter into this conversation, but still. I watched 2 Hitchcock movies, Shadow of a Doubt and Saboteur, of which I knew about them, that Hitchcock had directed them, and that they were called Shadow of a Doubt and Saboteur.
Right. Yeah.
And it's so and Shadow of a Doubt, I knew Joseph Cotten was in it, and that it was a well-rated movie or a popular Hitchcock movie.
Right.
But other than that, I'm just going in, and I got to tell you, it's been doing this lately. It's been really, really fun. Like, the less I know, the better. It is that way. Now, the danger, of course, is you put yourself into the hands of someone else. You're vulnerable to the possibility of seeing total and utter garbage.
Yes.
And one thing trailers can help you do is go like, that doesn't look like something I want to see.
Sure. But, but I mean, even that is dicey because you have, from last year, the two movies that for different reasons trailers wouldn't have helped you, I would say, are John Carter and The Grey, because John Carter made
You're
it
exactly
look,
right.
You know?
I saw The Grey going in thinking it was going to be Man Fights Wolf,
right?
And it was the strangest feeling to be so disappointed and so exhilarated at the same time.
Right. I am disappointed that this movie is far better than what I was thinking it would be.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, oh, I was expecting to just see him fight wolves for 2 hours. Right. And instead it's a phenomenal meditation on life and death and the existence or lack thereof of God. I'm not happy about this at all.
Yay for deep thinking movies that don't insult your intelligence.
Yay for the art of cinema.
Right.
Yay for the art of cinema and for proof that Liam Neeson is not just a revenge action guy at all anymore.
Boo for no or very little Liam Neeson bottle punching wolves.
I wish they had gone back. I wish they had made 2 movies simultaneously.
Yes.
Here's the A version of that movie and the B version. Because the reality is I'd probably watch the B version a lot more times.
Yeah, because it would take less out of you, for one.
But the A version would be the one that I would like watch and then just be like, all right, I need to sit down.
Yeah, it's true. And John Carter, based on a series of pulp novels, John Carter of Mars, by the same guy, Edgar Rice Burroughs, who wrote Tarzan. It is this like swashbuckling, like handsome man fights aliens, romances the beautiful princess, saves the world, blah, blah, blah. And it made it look like Taylor Kitsch wandering around doing nothing for
He had no idea what to do with it. He had no idea what to do with it. I didn't like the movie as much as you did, but I liked it.
Yeah.
I didn't love it, but I liked it, and they made it look like terrible garbage, and they just had no idea. It shocks me, and I don't know what to do with that, because it's Disney.
Right.
And one thing Disney's very rarely been accused of is not knowing how to sell something.
Yes, that's right.
Very shocking to me.
Part of my annoyance with John Carter isn't that I think it's the most brilliant movie ever, although I did like it more than you did. It's that there was also just such an element of surprise about it.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, it's Disney, and if there is one thing that Disney knows how to do, it's market stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, my recent experience is with the movie that I mentioned I saw in yesterday's 5 Minute Monday, Mud, which I knew that... Here's what I knew. I knew that two kids find a guy named Mud, played by Matthew McConaughey,
right,
and he is in some way mysterious and possibly dangerous.
Yes.
And I knew
I had forgotten even that much, but
sure.
I remember seeing the trailer and going, this is going to be amazing, and then promptly forgetting everything about what you just said until just now, and still knowing that I was going to see that movie.
Right. And also, I also knew that it was directed by Jeff Nichols, who did Shotgun Stories. He did Take Shelter with Michael Shannon, and I may have read at one point that Michael Shannon was also in Mud. He has a fairly small supporting part. But these are things that don't affect... that there's no way they could affect my enjoyment of the movie except to enhance my excitement for it.
Right. I don't. Here's the thing. To me, I want to know certain things. Right. If I'm going to sit and you're going to tell me a story, I trust you enough to know that I'm going to at least enjoy the story partially. So I need to know who the storytellers are or have a sense of that. If I don't know the storyteller, I want to hear if other people are digging it, or I want to see pictures and go, or some trailer. I mean, trailers are fun. I have to admit, I love seeing trailers before a movie.
Me too.
I just get so disappointed when they're not good or when they tell too much.
Right.
But a good trailer will get you pumped up and have you going, I have no idea. The best example I can give you, actually, is not for movies. And my wife and I do this every single week. We watch Mad Men. And if you've never seen Mad Men, my friend, to your shame. But to those who are listening or watching who watch Mad Men, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Nothing I love more at the end of a great television show than the next on.
Right.
Which I call next on. Because I say it like, while fast forwarding through the credits, I go, next on. And I like, oh man, Sopranos next ons used to crush me. Oh God.
Right.
Sopranos next ons were the greatest things ever. I can't even, just thinking about them. I would watch a whole day of next ons. That's how much I loved it. Mad Men next ons tell you nothing.
I have heard this.
Andy, literally, it's 30 seconds of it. They'll tell you one thing. Which characters have at least one line in next episode? Because they don't always have. There's a whole episodes where they don't show certain characters.
Sure.
So you'll be like, oh, Joni's in this episode. Okay, great. Joan Harris is in this episode. Great. Or like, oh, whatever. But literally, it'll just be like, you wouldn't. And then it'll like flash to a totally different screen and be like, that's what I heard. And then it'll flash to another screen and be like, someone smoking a cigarette. But we both get really, really excited. And then like, it'll end. And one of us, and it's so funny, the other day, like we watched one and then it ended and my wife was like, I forgot. Like, I forgot how it just does that to you. But if you said to me, do you want to skip the next on? I'd be like, oh, no.
Right.
You showed me that.
Right.
But I guess to me, when people who want to, like, first of all, when the more you want to know, to me it would be like if it's like, all right, I'm going to tell you a story. And then someone's like, is it a happy story or a sad story? Well, it's going to be a happy story mostly, but there's some sad moments. Okay, well, are there going to be any bears in it? No, there's not going to be any bears in the story, but okay, well, so is there going to be love in this? Just let me tell the story.
I'm good. By the end of the story, you will know the story.
Yeah. Here's what I want to know. I want to know, as you said, who made it, who's in it, approximately on any level how good it will be.
Yep. And there are many different ways to ascertain.
Literal. Right. I'm a big fan of the aggregate because I just at least have a sense that if everybody hates it, come on. Right. I know. Or if everybody loves it, I'm interested.
Yeah.
And then are you ready for this one? This will tell you more about a movie than so many things that you would think about. Running time. Running time. I want to know how long a movie is. For instance, is it funny? Not if it's 3 hours long.
Sure.
I mean, well, that's not fair. Django Unchained was 3 hours long and it was hilarious. But is it a comedy?
Right, but
no,
it's not
if
right.
Yeah. Unless it's a Judd Apatow movie. Oh my gosh. Get an editor, man.
Oh, yeah.
He makes 2.5-hour comedies.
Yes, and at
Chill
least,
out.
and I love, or at least very much like, every single one of them, and even the ones that I love, you could cut 20 minutes out of.
Yep.
With the exception of maybe the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
What's really well, no, they made the extended edition of 40-Year-Old Virgin was the only one you could get on DVD, and I was like, come on, man, like.
Right.
Give me a chance to watch the theatrical version.
He even affects movies that he is only the producer for, because I think I mentioned this on the podcast a few weeks ago. I realized I wanted to watch Superbad again, and I love that movie. And I realized that I purchased like the unrated, like extended edition, and I never actually watched it.
Should have done that.
It's not terrible, but
one of the good things about Superbad is it's just like Superbad's got great pace, pace, and then it's over.
Yes.
Judd
Apatow, we love you, but
don't become George Lucas, Judd Apatow. Calm down.
Right.
Just settle down. Don't do it.
Indeed.
I don't really have anything else to say about this right now, other than movies are like books, except better, and it's art. And part of the fun is not knowing and finding out. And then part of the fun, once you've seen the whole movie, is to find out how they tell that story. And then once you've seen it, see it again and kind of figure it out. That's fine. Seeing a movie a couple times, but like. Just like, shut up and let me see the movie.
Yeah.
And then they're called spoilers for a reason. Because they spoil. Stop spoiling.
Right. Hey, everybody.
That's all I want to say about that.
That guy canceled Christmas because he couldn't keep his trap shut about this movie.
Just you know who you are.
Yeah.
You know who you are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I will end on this.
Okay.
Harry Knowles, who runs Ain't It Cool News, tells the story, and this is why he trades and traffics in spoilers.
Yes.
Less so now, but that's how he sort of made his hay. But even he has a line that he won't cross, and it's because he tells a story waiting in line. By the way, guys, there's a spoiler in what I'm about to say.
But it's like 30 years old. I can feel it.
Indeed. He's waiting in line for a movie with his dad. And that movie is The Empire Strikes Back. And a young kid in front of them in line loudly said, "I hear Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father." And everyone was like, oh.
Why would you do that?
Because the kid was like 6, right? And so, like, he doesn't have the filter that a grown adult person would have. But then Harry goes on. Every time he tells the story, he goes on to say, even the 6-year-old realized he had done something wrong. And he was like, "Oh, I'm just kidding. Oh, I'm just kidding." You know? And he tried to cover it. And Harry was like, it didn't really work. And that did affect, now that I've seen the movie 150 times, it doesn't affect what I think about it on its 150th time. It probably wouldn't have affected what I thought of it on the second time I saw it. But
the first time?
It did affect the first time.
Of course, that would be problematic if you spoke Swedish, since Vader is just Swedish for father.
True. Also,
so, George Lucas,
is an issue.
Get better names.
Indeed. Kaiser Soze is an issue, too. If you happen to speak Hungarian.
Thank God I don't.
Indeed. Me too. Agreed.
Okay. Well, I think that's all I want to say about that. Good
agree.
story. Yeah.
There you go. So,
all right. Don't tell me anything except for the running time and who's in it, and then we'll call it a day.
Yes. So that'll do it for today on Second Breakfast. I'm Andy Roth, and that's Phil Duvall. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
The most important meal of the day, second